It is 1 p.m. in Aleppo. It's 3:30 in Kabul. I'm Monita Rajpal. This is World One, live from London. But first, Syria's nightmare of violence and killing shows no sign of letting up. In the past few hours, state-run TV said 2 car bombs went off in the city of Aleppo, killing 25 people. These are the images we've just received that appear to show the aftermath of the bombings. Syrian TV is describing the attacks as the work of terrorists. The government restricts the movement of international journalists inside the country. So CNN's correspondent Ivan Watson is following developments from Turkey. He joins us now live from our bureau in Istanbul. So once again, we're saying that the Syrian government is saying that they are targeting armed gangs and foreign terrorists. But the pictures that we're receiving seem to show that children and women and civilians are under fire.
Yeah, 2 sharply conflicting narratives here, Monita, that have persisted over the course of this 10-11-month uprising.
This weekend, CNN has a special program examining a week of horror in the besieged city. It's not tough enough. Greek leaders have been sent back to the negotiating table after a fragile agreement on spending cuts failed to impress Eurozone finance ministers. On Thursday, party chiefs in Greece hammered out a deal they hoped would convince overseas lenders to approve a new bailout. But EU ministers said it didn't go far enough, and in any case, they couldn't be sure Greek politicians would implement it. They're giving Athens less than a week to find even deeper cuts and to supply written undertakings to put the austerity measures into effect. The stakes are high. Greece is staring down the barrel of bankruptcy and needs the $172 billion bailout to have any hope of avoiding it. So what are the chances of Greece making next week's deadline? We're joined now by CNN's Jim Bolton. The deadline is Wednesday, and the clock is ticking.
Yeah, and the deadline used to be Monday, and then the deadline was also today and last Monday. So we're not going to say by next Wednesday.
There are protests going on in the streets of Athens. Very angry, as you were talking about, a generational issue as well. Very interesting indeed. Jim, thank you very much for that. Jim Bolton here. You are watching World One live from London. Still to come on the show, a relationship in transition. We look at the new realities. Returning out to one of our top stories, Greek leaders have been sent back to the negotiating table after a fragile agreement on spending cuts failed to impress Eurozone finance ministers. Well, any plans for deeper cuts are likely to get an angry reception in Greece. Egypt receives more than $1 billion a year in military aid from the U.S., but under Cairo's new leadership and amid long-standing anti-American sentiments, the grounds the relationship are built on are changing. And as Ben Wiedemann shows us, one case in Egypt's courts underscores this growing divide.
The cartoons in a state-run Cairo newspaper set the tone. A nasty-looking Uncle Sam spying on Egypt.
A senior UN official has arrived in the island nation of the Maldives to urge restraint and dialogue between feuding factions. President Mohamed Nasheed resigned on Wednesday amid growing political tensions. Since then, Mr. Nasheed and his supporters have clashed with police. The former president says he was forced to quit, and he's calling for his successor, the former Vice President Mohamed Wahid Hassan, to step down. Well, the former president of the Maldives has written a guest editorial in the International Herald Tribune newspaper. It is headlined, "The Dregs of Dictatorship." In it, Mohamed Nasheed defends his position. He writes, and in this quote here, he says, "Police officers and army personnel loyal to the old government mutinied and forced me at gunpoint to resign to avoid bloodshed. I did so." Now, Mr. Nasheed was the country's first democratically elected president. Referring to his predecessor, he said, and we're quoting here again, "Let the Maldives be a lesson for aspiring Democrats everywhere. The dictator can be removed in a day, but it can take years to stamp out the lingering remnants of his dictatorship." And again, that's from the article written by the former Maldives president, Mohamed Nasheed. You are watching World One live from London. The U.S. Republican presidential nomination is in a bit of a lull. No elections or debates for a couple of weeks. So this year's biggest gathering of conservatives is an even bigger stage than usual for the candidates. CNN Washington with a preview of today's events at CPAC is CNN's political editor, Paul Steinhauser. We thought he was going to be in here, but he's not. We're going to go straight talk to you, Paul. Where are you?
I'm right here, Monita. How are you?
Good, thanks. So what can we expect today?
This is actually a very big deal. This is the largest annual gathering of conservative leaders.
We want to take a look at what's trending on social media right now. At number 3, Steve Jobs is a popular talking point today. That's because the FBI has released the files it kept on him. The Bureau investigated Jobs back in 1991. At the time, President George H.W. Bush was considering the late Apple founder for a government position. The files include testimony from people who knew him. One acquaintance was quoted as saying, "Mr. Jobs possesses integrity as long as he gets his way." At number 2, inspired parenting or cruelty? In this video, a Chinese father forces his son to run half naked in the snow, and the pictures are causing a controversy. The father, who calls himself Eagle Dad, says he's teaching his son to challenge limitations. He uploaded the video to the internet to show his friends. The video's gotten plenty of comments and criticism and is one of our most popular on CNN.com. And at number 1, there is a lot of talk online right now about the historic city of Aleppo in Syria. As we've been reporting, 2 explosions have killed an unknown number of people there, and that's according to state TV, which described the attacks as terrorist acts. Aleppo lies some 350 kilometers north of Damascus and is a popular tourist destination. You are watching World 1 live from London. Doctors in homes say their clinic and patients are also being attacked. They're saying they have no antibiotics and very little equipment. In some cases, all they can do is watch their patients die. CNN has obtained this footage from homes. A doctor conducts a tour of a makeshift hospital in a mosque set up after a field hospital was shelled. Some of you may find these pictures distressing. Their footage of a doctor who was conducting a tour there of a makeshift hospital in a mosque. Well, amid the bloodshed being meted out to the Syrian people and the horrors they've endured, Iran is standing by its longtime ally, President Bashar al-Assad. And as tanks roll through Syria's cities, reports say a shadowy military figure in Iran may be helping out behind the scenes. More now from Brian Todd.
A crackdown that's brutal, relentless, and possibly part of a frightening collaboration.
People in Eastern Europe may have to endure brutal winter temperatures for another weekend. Meteorologists say the severe cold will carry on for several days in many places. Let's get a closer look now at the weather in Europe this weekend. Let's go to our meteorologist, Mari Ramos, at the World Weather Center with the forecast. Mari.
Hey, Monita, that's a stunning figure. 9 out of 10 are alcohol-related deaths when it comes to that cold. That's one of the things that experts always say, that alcohol is one of the things that you should really try.
Mari, thank you. Well, the winter weather is punishing Europe, but it can be brutal in Afghanistan. It is especially hard on the thousands of families who have nowhere to go but refugee camps. Nick Payton-Walsh shows us the terrible toll it takes on the children of Afghanistan.
When the snow finally melts on these hills, it'll reveal 17 fresh and tiny graves.
Welcome back. The quest for a New England manager begins in earnest today as the Football Association meets to discuss a replacement for Fabio Capello. Alex Thomas is here with that and much more, as if there's much to discuss.
Well, the picture's changed in the last half an hour. I was going to tell you about the 4 men that we saw at the news conference at Wembley.
That's all the sport for now, Monita.
Lots happening. A busy show coming up in World Sport. We'll look forward to that. Thank you very much. You are watching World 1 live from London. When we come back, how well do you really know your iPhone assistant? Welcome back. You are watching World 1. Here are some of the stories that we're talking about this Friday. Early March may not offer great camping weather, but you can still expect to see Apple fans in sleeping bags lining up at the shops for the next iPad. iPad 3 is due out in about 3 weeks. The rumor mill has been working overtime speculating that Apple's next tablet will have more memory and a better screen. Apple, of course, is keeping stum. Now, tablets are helping more people telecommute, but the length some folks would go to for the chance to work from home might surprise you. Showers and spouses are on the sacrifice list among those who want to live a kind of cyber good life. A new poll says 5% of those questioned would actually ditch their partner to avoid the daily commute. I guess priorities, maybe? Finally, the accolades just keep coming up the aisle for the film Bridesmaids. The Oscar-nominated comedy is now the biggest video-on-demand title of all time, with nearly 5 million rentals in just over 4 months. That's pretty impressive. Now, forget Monsters, Inc. It's all about Psycho Siri when smartphones strike back. Who else but CNN's Jeannie Mose explains.
Sweet dreams.
You know we have a love-hate relationship with high tech. When our phones start killing us...
Go to hell, you stupid phone!
And I'm Monita Rajpal in London. That's World 1 for this Friday. We'll update you on the news headlines at the top of the hour.